Welcome to Tiong Bahru. So long before it was filled with specialty oat milk lattes, this area was known as a burial ground road, a swampy expanse of Chinese cemeteries. But in the 1930s, the British colonial planners used this exact dirt for a radical urban experiment. They created Singapore's very first public housing estate. That's right, Tiong Bahru is the first. So today we aren't looking at spreadsheets or investment yields, but rather we are doing a deep dive into what it actually feels like to live here. Breaking Tiong Bahru down into three basically different kind of lifestyles within Tiong Bahru. The first is the cafe hopper's paradise, followed by the traditional heart, and last but not least, the design enclave. So let's take a slow walk. So we're starting with where most outsiders fall in love with the estate, the lifestyle cluster, anchored around the Yong Siak Street or the Guang Chuan Street. If you come around here on a Saturday morning, oh yeah, there's Singapore Lane too. It doesn't feel so much like Singapore, but more like a quiet corner of, Melbourne, Tokyo. And this is what we call the cafe hopper's paradise. The architecture here belongs to a style called streamlined modern, a late phase of the Art Deco movement in the 1930s. So looking at, say, like Block 55 along Tiong Bahru Road, which is completed in December 1936, this was the very first block that was ever built in this entire estate. So back then, the architects were very obsessed with planes, luxury ocean liners, and steam trains. So that's why if you see the style, right, you see there's these like gorgeous rounded corners, which you don't really find in a lot of other places. There's these clean horizontal lines and long sweeping balconies that look like a deck of the ship. So for buyers who want to purchase into this lifestyle asset, right, you need to understand the unique economic realities of this walk-up, conserve walk-ups. Because the thing is that they carry private titles instead of like HDB flats. You completely skip the standard HDB eligibility. So this makes them more liquid and a premium asset for high-income singles and foreign professionals. If you're looking for a 2-bedroom home over here, the size range around 800 square feet to as big as 1,400 square feet. Because they're older, they're larger. So entry price ranges anywhere from 900,000 to as much as $1.8 million. So what I find to be a sweet spot is that if you can find under-renovated layouts, maybe mid-floor, you're looking at 1.1 to 1.2 million. And then from there, you can inject your own design equity and make it, more valuable. So if a tenant looking for places to stay, you step out the door and immediately smell like roasting coffee, this pocket unfortunately demands a major lifestyle premium. So this place, the demand is a lot driven by expats, as well as the creative professionals. So we are looking at full rentals at these conserved spaces, sitting anywhere from $4,000 to $6,500 a month. This is the kind of places you can look like. I'm just going to show you the design. So if you're a young creative who doesn't really need an entire flat, but wants to live in one of these iconic heritage blueprints, you're looking at rooms. Individual rooms here command a premium as well, looking at around $1,500 to $2,500 a month. And this is what you can get. So just a few hundred meters away from the oat milk latte lies the liberal beating soul of the estate, the traditional heart area. So this lifestyle is centered around the iconic Tiong Bahru Market. And this Tiong Bahru Market is at the 30 Singapore Road, which is really, the only way I can put it is that it's truly traditional Singaporean lifestyle. So long before the modern complex arrived, this market was populated by illegal street hawkers who spent the 1940s running away from the police before the government finally gave them a permanent home inside. So we did quite a few interviews. In our other video, you can check it out, where we interviewed the shop owners. Some of them worked as young as when they were 6 years old, helping their parents run the stores over here. And this place renovated like 3 times, changed a lot. How their business is like right now, you can check that out over here. And more importantly, what makes this segment so beautiful is that it acts as the ultimate human equalizer. On a Sunday morning, the wealth gap kind of like evaporates. You see an elderly auntie in her market slippers in the exact same 20-minute queue compared to a young professional designer, wearing their athleisure at airports, all in the same hawker center. So the traditional core is dominated by your pre-war SIT heritage flats, your really old school first gen HDB flats. So within the official HDB conservation zone. So if you're looking to buy here, right, it's quite mind-boggling. So like there's this block 50 Moguan Terrace. This 4-room jumbo flat sold for a staggering 1.53 million in May this year, and it doesn't even have a very long lease. You're looking at like 45 years left on the lease, and people pay a crazy all-time high price for HDBs. So what this buyer bought into, right, is the irreplaceable massive 4-room flat. Just a 4-room flat, 615 square feet. And that's really, really huge. Not to mention the heritage and the traditional vibes of the neighborhood. So for regular entry into this cluster, the typical purchase price for this place ranges anywhere from say 470,000 to as high as $1 million, with more accessible and more options starting at around 600,000 as of today, July 2026. And if you're looking to rent, this segment represents the ultimate shoebox condo versus the heritage shell debate. Because if you want to pay, you can pay for a high premium, 450 to 550 square foot modern condo, and I'm going to show you like how they look like. It's really, really beautiful. Twin Regency or Mera Prime, this very, very beautiful, but it has its own set of cons compared to say traditional SIT walk-ups for their massive 700 to 950 square foot efficient layouts. Yeah, but they're much older, no lifts, some of the cons you would face. So full unit 3-room rentals here sit at competitively around 2,800 to as much as maybe 4,500 a month. Individual room rentals fetch around 1,000 to 1,800 a month, and this is heavily driven by corporate tenants and digital nomads who value the integration into it's like the neighborhood vibe as well as the accessibility to a town if you work in town, or the medical clinics centers nearby. Last but not least, our final segment is what we call the design enclave. This represents the deeply intimate live-in reality of Tiong Bahru's residential corridor, and this is like along the Eng Hun Street and Lim Liang Street on Google Map. I'm going to just show you very quickly. So because these pre-war flats were designed before the invention of modern air conditioning, the entire estate there relies a lot on natural cross ventilation. So if you walk through here on a midday afternoon, you notice a beautiful old school habitat that has completely vanished in the modern soundproof complexes. People leave their heavy wooden doors wide open over here, and only the iron gates locked. Yeah, so this has a very neighborhoody vibes. You can hear the dinner, cooking. You can smell the food. You can catch a glimpse of the family photos, the vintage music. Yeah, it's kind of like the kampong vibes of the area. But if you want to call one of these places your home, it has what I call an architectural text. Because in modern development, you have lifts and smart automation. Here, you live the old school lifestyle, and you pay a premium for it. Like no lifts, you pay a premium because it is iconic. It no longer exists anymore. If you live on the top floor on Eng Hun Street, you're going to take the stairs, and these are historic spiral staircase, that is very beautiful and special because there's no more. So for buyers who are targeting this design-forward enclave, usually people look for like the premium renovated architectural walk-ups instead of the really old school conserved kinds. But even then, heavily designer homes typically start anywhere from like 1.3 to as much as 2.5, and I've seen some that go as high as $5 million in this area. So if you find those in original condition or older condition, you can potentially find some of those at maybe 1.2 million if you're lucky as of today, and maybe inject, say for example, $200,000 into renovating and making it very special. So for tenants who want to live inside this literal design magazine layout in a lot of these homes, you're looking at a strict aesthetic premium. Typically full units in this area rent for around $4,000 a month because they are like, curated architecture masterpieces, usually these kind of places. For young creative who's looking to rent individual rooms, or expats who are looking for designer renovated apartment rooms, you're looking at around 1,500 to 2,800-ish a month for rooms or studio. And when I share the designs, you're looking at like soaring ceilings, 4.5 meter, 5 meter ceilings, beautiful floor to glass ceilings. It's very, very nice. So speaking of modern transformation right here to the core, if you want to see how an owner, imagine this space to be, I actually did a home tour in Regency Suites. I can, I'll leave a link over here. You can check it out. It's extremely beautiful. And here's the thing, right? Tiong Bahru defies all the economic sense in 2026. Like on paper, you see a lot of the houses are like super duper old, 40, 50 years old, maybe 30 years old, no lifts, tight street parking, and there's a lot of maintenance required. Yet it is one of the most fiercely loved and expensive enclaves in the country. Because whether you choose the hyper-convenient, trendy bus of the Cafe Hopper's Paradise along the Yong Siak Street, or the more grounded, multi-generational warmth of the traditional hut at Sengpo Road, or the raw architectural intimacy of the designer walk-ups at Eng Hun Street, everyone here enjoys the exact same historic space. So a neighborhood soul isn't really found in a perfect developer's blueprint or a flawless smart home system. It's found in the shared patience of taking the stairs, morning queues for breakfast in the crowded hawker centre, and the willingness to leave the door open and let the neighbourhood in. So among the three different vibes that I kind of shared, which one speaks to you the most? If you ever live in any of these estates, let me know your experience down below. If you want to see how this old school character matches up against a completely different kind of neighbourhood identity, one built with raw, unpolished subculture and legendary food streets, click on the next video over here to see our tour of the Serangoon estate. Or if you love this lifestyle and you want to see these properties in person or what's available in the market regardless of what date it is, you can WhatsApp me at this number and I'm happy to show you around. So I'll see you in the next one. Take care everyone.